welcome everyone to the Redevelopment Commission meeting on May 2nd, 2022. Let's start the meeting with roll call, please.
Deb Hutton here.
Randy Cassidy here.
And Cindy Canarney here. Staff present, please.
John Zodi hand.
Kristen Finley hand.
Larry Allen, legal.
Alex Crowley, Economic Sustainable Development.
Brett's on. Brett Pierce from Hand is here as well, but I think he's muted. So.
All right. Thank you for that. Next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes from April 18th, 2022 and April 18th, 2022 executive summary. Are there any questions from the commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton, I have moved to accept the minutes of both April 18th, 2022 and the executive summary for executive meeting summary for April 18th, 2022.
I'll second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes unanimously. Next item is examination of claims for April 14, 2022 for $250,486.47 and April 19, 2022 for $10,000. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton, I move to approve the claims for April 14th, 2022 and April 19th, 2022 for the amount stated.
I'll second that.
Have a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 And no one opposed. Passes unanimously. Examination of payroll registers April 22nd, 2022 for $34,420.85. Any questions or comments from commissioners? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton, I move to approve the payroll register for April 22nd, 2022 for the amount stated.
I'll second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No one opposed. Passes unanimously. Next item of business is report of officers and committees. Is there a director's report?
There is, Madam President, just two quick items. Hand is going to be hosting a tenant resource fair on Saturday, May 21st. This is as it's named, a resource opportunity for tenants in Bloomington to come and get information about different services available to them. We'll have some tables and some presentations in the council chamber to just provide information as we are now able to do this in person again, and hope for a nice crowd there. It'll be a Saturday with the farmers markets going on out front, so hopefully we'll have a good crowd there. The other is a reminder, since we're in a public meeting, just want to remind the residents of Bloomington that grass is growing, and we have codes in place that require grass to be 8 inches or under if you are mowing and weeds and all that stuff. So we're in that time for our staff to be out looking for overgrowth. So just want to remind everybody to keep an eye on the yard. And that concludes my report.
All right. Any questions from commissioners? All right. Is there a legal report?
Not at this time, but I'm happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have.
All right. Any questions?
Everything good?
As good as it can be.
Yeah. Still in negotiations with things.
That's right. Yeah, there's going to be several things. I mean, you'll see them come up on the agenda, and we'll be talking about those coming forward soon. But everything's progressing actually pretty nicely.
Excellent.
All right. Is there a treasurer's report?
I think Mr. Underwood is on, but I'm happy to answer any questions for the treasurer that I can.
All right. Thank you. Business development updates.
I have one small thing, and I should mention that I think John Zodi's talking about my lawn when he's talking about more than 8 inches, so I appreciate you not mentioning me by name, but we know who you're talking about. The small thing I wanted to mention was that the gravel lot that's across from the commercial space of the Trades District is being used temporarily by a company called 5 Star Electric, who's a Duke Energy subcontractor. They are staging their equipment there for a wholesale change of all of the light poles in the showers complex. So we just want to make sure you're aware of that. That's what's going on. That should last from now until July, and then they will be out of the way again.
Any questions? When they do that, it seems like a good use of space, nothing else going on there. Do they pay a rent for that space, or it's just a gentle person's agreement to use space that's needed and for something?
Yeah, we've had a couple of instances. In this case, they're not paying rent. It is a sort of service that,
Yeah.
we're sort of mutually benefiting from. And there have been occasions where we've allowed people to use portions of the trades district if we thought it was worthwhile. There's some cases where, in fact, one case where someone last year or 2 years ago was running a little dog training school and they did pay. So in cases where there's commercial enterprise, we will look at that. But in cases where there's kind of a mutual benefit
it's
to the
just
city,
a useful thing. Thanks.
Based on that lot and the aspect of upkeep and such, do we have to weed it or spray it in order to keep it so it doesn't start to get volunteer grass coming up, since we're on the grass aspect?
It's part of the trades district landscaping, actually, which you'll see later this meeting, in fact, that Alex navigated through for us. So it's one of those things that we have to keep upkeep for those particular lots.
You guys are ahead of it.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Moving on to new business, Resolution 22-26, approval of partnership agreement with BCT Management, Inc. Who'd like to speak to us about that?
I can start, and then Larry can pick up the mess that I leave behind. So, as you know, for many years now, we have had BCT Management as a managing entity for the Buskirk Chumley Theater, BCT. And year after year, we kind of renew the agreement, minor tweaks here and there. This is another one of those renewals, except that there are a couple of changes that are material in this case that we wanted to highlight, and I may overlook some, but the two in particular that I'm thinking of are, in the past we've done 1 year at a time, and they've done a great job. We're very pleased with the work. They're doing a really bang-up job over there. So we thought, rather than just go through this every year, which is painful for everybody involved, we would do a 3-year agreement. So this time it's a 3-year agreement through December of 2024. And then the second material term is, this is the BCT Centennial. And so they will be undertaking some fundraising involved. That's sort of part of the Centennial celebration. And so you have the building, and then you have BCT Management. And one of the things we wanted to ensure was that fundraising, in any case that happens around the BCT, is always used to benefit the BCT. In some absurd situation where they decide to quit their duties and go off and manage something in Indianapolis, we didn't want them to take the funds that were really designed to benefit the BCT. So anyway, what you'll see is a term in here that is really directed at the fundraising that is surrounding the Centennial. And what we want is that fundraising to stay to support arts generally within the city and BCT. And that period has been defined as June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023. So that's the 1 year fundraising that's specifically tied to the Centennial. And I think that, did I say that clearly?
Yeah, and that's anything pledged to them. So the pledge, it's been a long conversation about giving their donors some comfort about where their money was going and just being very clear. So allowing that 1 year, so anything that's pledged within that year, even if it pays out a little bit longer, can stay with the company. So that way, if somebody wants it specifically to stay with the management, or there's some operational aspect of it, there's no hiccups there in terms of that. We've been very happy. This is actually, and just a fine point is, it's kind of a return to form with the way we operated the BCT from the beginning. So in the beginning, there were longer agreements. Those are like 4 to 5 year agreements. We went to a 1 year model for a time, and then this is kind of getting us back on track to do these in chunks, so that it's not a burden on either the BCTM. We want them to be actively involved in the theater and not just in contract negotiations all the time, and same for us at the city. So
Does this mean that, can I infer that the city feels much more now that the BCT is more stable than it has been? Sort of went through some different fluctuations, but now it feels pretty stable to go into a longer term agreement with them. Good for both sides, but also good for the city.
I think we hope so. Certainly hope so. I mean, we've shown a commitment. Alex's group has been fantastic with this, frankly, in terms of showing a commitment to the BCT in particular. And coming up on their centennial, we also were able to use some emergency funds to do some much needed upgrades. As you know, we use some of the TIF funds to do some of the upgrades. TIF funds are restricted, so this is going to be the same same. Those always have to be for public improvements. We can't use TIF funds for operations. We can't use it just for maintenance of the BCT. We use some of those to upgrade some LED lighting, do some marquee repairs, do some sprinkler system, I think, repair, some facade work. So we've certainly shown our commitment and how we think that this theater is just such a central part of the downtown, and they've been they've come through the pandemic, which honestly, I don't know if we can ask for anything more from a small arts organization like that.
Right.
But I should reiterate that, and I think you all know, they have a great staff. They have a great board. They're doing a really good job of managing that facility and really keeping it active. I get emails all the time. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's really what we want, and I think it's
Good. It gives the vibrancy and the activity downtown.
Yeah.
And just so I make sure I'm correct on this, City of Bloomington or Redevelopment owns the facility itself, and the contract we're entering into is specifically management of that, and if there's any capital expenditures, typically that'll fall back into redevelopment to keep the facility up itself, but the engagement, management, et cetera, is all BCT, and that's where the fundraising component will go towards to make sure we get good operational programming.
So this is really, it's almost a hybrid agreement. So it performs the functions that you just said, which is it's a lease agreement, first of all, for a management company. It's also a theater management agreement where the city gets certain days where we've typically used that for state of the city and certain public events. And then it's also like kind of an upkeep that's kind of falls within the typical lease. It's a little bit more hands-on. The TIF, it's not just for capital expenditures because, again, it has to be used for public improvements. It can't be used just for maintenance straight up. Right. The building itself is technically owned by the Board of Park manager, so that's why you see this agreement comes to you all. It will go to the Board of Public Works as a city facility, and it will go to the Board of Park Commissioners for approval, and all those entities have to approve this particular agreement. And that's because there's also different funding mechanisms. So you have $55,000, which council has earmarked for operational funding of the BCTM. There is, I think it's 15,500 or 15,000, I'd have to just look at the particulars, that come from Parks Department specifically for those kind of maintenance things that can be used for small maintenance things or operations as needed. And then there's this commitment of up to $74,000. So if there is some sort of public improvement that we can do to that building that increases the efficiency, increases the ability to use it, or anything that we could fit, logically under the statutory definition of public improvement for redevelopment commissions, we've been willing to look at those projects on a case-by-case basis. Of course, bring them to you on each case. So even though you approve up to $74,000, each of those individual things need to be approved by the board. And that's kind of the funding conglomerate that we have with the BCTM.
That's the annual funding.
That's the annual funding. So this will be each year,
which is tied to the centennial, where the city has put multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars into the BCT to help it kind of propel it in the next 100 years, take care of a lot, as Larry mentioned.
And that funding kind of came, those were separate grant agreements that we kind of did at a departmental level. So coming from Alex's department to the BCTM, so economic and sustainable development to the BCTM.
Well, it's a vital part of our community downtown. It's a draw, so need to keep continuing.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'll make a motion to approve if you need one.
We'll take it.
Second.
All right, first and a second.
But I do have a question.
Please.
In the, on page 8, it's just, the city funds of $55,000 are very clearly in a paragraph toward the top said there's 4 quarterly payments of $13,750 each year. Seems fine. But then 2 down, it talks about a redevelopment commission with our $74,000 up to. And down in that paragraph, second last line says tax increment funding shall not roll over from year to year. And yet I don't see any year-to-year annual quarterly payment or any kind of portion payment for the $74,000. So that seems to be at odds with here's a chunk you can eat out of, and yet there's no rollover.
Well, so I think the rollover question, we could address that in a couple different ways. We could bring that up to you annually, but the reason for that is because the $74,000 isn't a payment to the BCTM. It
Right,
is
they request.
they request, and then it's paid directly to use for the building for public improvement. So it doesn't come out quarterly. It's not like a quarterly
Right.
chunk. It's just as those accounts go. In terms of there's no rollover, there would be no rollover annually. In terms of if you use 50,000 of it one year and there's 24,000 left over, it doesn't get added to the 74 the next year. So you don't get 98,000 is what
Right.
that's
You get 74 total over 3 years and
74 total per year that you could use.
per year.
That you could use. It doesn't roll over though, so the next year you just get 74 that you could use.
Annually. Oh, I
And the
missed
next
one
year you
word.
get 74.
Annually.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Apologize, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, any other questions from commissioners? We have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? All right, unanimous approval. Next item of business is Resolution 22-27, approval of property tax payment for parking lot parcels at 216 South College Avenue. Who'd like to speak to this?
I can speak to this. So we have a lease agreement for 2 parking parcels on the College Square property that we've had since we purchased the property. We inherited those leases in terms of we assumed those leases upon purchase. And part of that lease that we assumed has an agreement to pay property taxes on those 2 parcels. So this is just part of that annual duty that we have. Just wanted to get it before you. Actually the taxes are a little bit lower this year than they were last year and the year previous on those 2 lots, I believe. I don't remember by how much, but it's just a little bit marginally lower. And then just as a way of putting a note in there, also we have an option to purchase in that lease, and we do have an offer out to those owners, so that's part of this as well. So hopefully, once the RDC owns it, we would not owe property taxes anymore. So we're hoping that this is the last property tax payment pursuant to that lease.
Any questions from commissioners?
This will come back up in the fall unless we offer gets accepted.
This is for the full amount.
Full amount?
So this is for the full amount of annual taxes, just to cover ourselves, since it.
Then we're just done.
Yeah, we can just pay it once and not worry about doing the 2 installments.
Okay. Works.
I'm going to ask for any comments from the public. Not hearing or seeing any, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Deb Hutton, so move to approve of Resolution 2227.
Randy Cassidy, second.
All right, I have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Resolution 22-28, approval of addendum to agreement and amendment to listing contract with FC Tucker Commercial. Who'd like to speak to this? Oh, sorry. Oh, someone up there.
Yeah.
Brent.
Well, Sam asked us that he has some public comments.
Okay.
You can just put it in the chat if you'd like.
Yeah. Can you pull up the chat, Christina? Okay.
It's up, but it's not coming up there.
So if you'd like to put your comments in the chat, that would be super.
We could revisit Sam's comments as well. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
So the minutes from Sam mentioned this before the meeting, so I'll just go ahead and address it since he's bringing this up. I did ask him which minutes there were. He sent an email about his name was misspelled in one of the minutes, and so we would, as soon as we can narrow down which minutes, it seemed like it was he said the last meeting, but I looked for the minutes that you all approved for this meeting. It looks like it's correct. It's still Sam in there, so I'll talk to Sam, and if it's the one previous, Sam, what we might need to do is we'll just go ahead and update those minutes the next time. I'll just have you all amend them just to correct his name. I think there was an E at the end, just a spell check kind of error, as opposed to Sam. So we'll get those corrected for you, Sam. Thank you.
Appreciate you catching that, Sam.
All right, thank you. So who would like to speak to Resolution 22-28?
I can touch on it. As you know, we have contracts with several commercial real estate brokers for different purposes, we, the RDC. And then in this particular case, we have a listing agreement with FC Tucker for the commercial spaces at the 4th Street Garage. And there are basically 4 potential bays, 1 big open space right now. I was just in there earlier, looks great. This listing agreement would have ended, or I guess did end at the end of March. And this is a renewal from April for another year. Is that right, Larry? Do I have that?
That's right.
And so it's really a continuation of the services. FC Tucker is representing the space, handling any inquiries that come in, et cetera. So not a lot of surprises here. We just want to make sure we keep this current and extend it for a 12-month period.
All right, thank you. Any questions from commissioners?
So just to clarify, for different purposes, you use different real estate agents. In this case, for the 4th Street Garage, it's with FC Tucker.
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
All right, any other questions from commissioners? If any comment from the public? Not seeing or hearing any. I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion. Randy Cassidy, move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second that button. Sorry.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No one
Sorry about
opposed?
that.
Motion carries on Resolution 22-28. Next item of business is Resolution 22-29, approval of contract for landscape maintenance in the Trades District. Who'd like to speak to this?
It's the Alex Crowley show apparently today. I will speak to it. So, as you know, we have a fair amount of land at the Trades District, and by we I mean you. And that land has some landscaping. It also has just sort of basic landscaping needs. We have contracted with landscapers historically to manage that for us. Because it's our RDC property, it's handled that way as opposed to through city, staff. And so this, in this case, every season we want to renew it. We have gone out to the market with with a base, just a request for bids. This is the bid that we want to pursue, and we have basically attach the scope of work that's associated with the work that's going to happen. And we'd like to kind of, Larry, I don't know if we decided to do this multiple years or just 1 year at a time, but this is a seasonal thing. So they're going to have to start getting things ready. They manage the irrigation system. There's an irrigation system. Little planters need to be planted. Obviously just taking care of the place. And then it kind of wraps up at the end of the season and starts up again the following year.
So this agreement will be for 1 year. We always have the option to amend this one, so we'll do that at the end of the year as long as the services don't materially change their amount. If they do, then we'll just bring that amendment for you either way to extend the services for the new amount whenever we just get the updated quote. We've typically don't like these to go though any longer than 3 years. Again, just for the agreement to make sure that they get out to bid and follow the bidding process that we need to. In this case, no other takers, and we are adding. The only difference between this one and years past, I think, is we added the Trades District scope to it, and that's about it. So Nature's Way has been doing a great job. Honestly, the Trades District look fantastic. Unless you think differently, and then please let us know.
Looks good. Looks good. Gotta keep it looking good as we're continuing to market it and move things forward.
So Larry, just clarification, this is just exclusively for the Trades District?
It's just exclusively for the Trades District and the Trades Garage.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
All right, any questions from commissioners?
Just clarification on that. Essentially, Trades Garage, 10th Street, up Morton, down 11th, that way.
That's
Trades Garage. Yep.
Okay. And this will take care of the outside of the kiln building too, so we maintain consistency.
Yeah, there's not a lot of landscaping around there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we use city lawn for the pure mowing services. So they'll do the mowing.
And this takes care of mulch flowers.
Yeah.
The things that we
And
all love and
irrigation.
look at and
Yeah.
wonder how how does it look that beautiful? Well, this is how.
Yeah.
Taken care of. So I'll move to approve. Randy Cassidy, I'll make a motion for approval.
Let me just ask for public comment first. Any public comment or All right, not seeing or hearing any, I'll entertain a motion.
Randy Gassy, move to approve.
Deb Hutton, second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. All right, next item on the agenda is general business discussion. Anything that we need to talk about?
But just note, he was here just a little bit ago. Mr. Askins emailed us just about the meeting packet not being on the website. So we're going to get that uploaded as soon as possible to the website just to make sure that everybody has it. It was sent out with the packet and the invite, and anybody who wants to be on that distribution list can contact us, and we're happy to add you to the distribution list. But we also posted on the website. Just for whatever reason, the website just didn't get uploaded this time. So we'll fix that.
I forwarded him the packet during the meeting here because on the email. So we thought we posted it. I'm not sure what happened to it, but Christina posted it Friday. I don't know what that.
Yeah, I will note, we, at some point in the last couple of months, our IT also revamped the city website, including the calendar system. And there have been some technical hiccups with the calendar system, including scheduling meetings and a variety of things. So it's very possible that that's just what's happening here. There used to be an email, I think, that we would send this to, and then it would automatically upload, and it might be just a different process that we need to. So these are kind of the normal smoothing out of hiccups. I know that we've had a couple of commissions that we've tried to schedule meetings and upload it to the calendar, and then we open the calendar and the meeting's not there. So that's just one of the extra little fun challenges of technological updating. So
Yeah, it's great when it works and not so great when it doesn't work, for sure.
yeah.
Well, of course, since we look on our computers or paper, but in front of each individually, we look at the packet. How does the public who's out there happening to look, how do they look? Are they supposed to look on the website because that's where it's supposed to be open?
That's the easiest way. That's what I meant. But there's actually several members of the public that do get distribution of the packet as well. I know I do that for the county RDC just so that Jeff Cockrell and I are attorneys for our respective RDCs, so we like to just see what's going on and the variety of ones. So that is a possibility, but the easiest way is clearly the website. So that's why we typically like to have it there.
That's the main place for the
It is
public.
the main place, and so we like to have it. Of course, the agenda is posted outside the door today, so there are other ways that you can get a hold of that. But we try to have it on the website so everybody can access it during the meeting and follow
Thanks.
along.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn.
Deb Hutton, so moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.